The sterile white halls of the Galactic Concordat's Technology Assessment Chamber had never felt so suffocating. Ambassador Thora Novak stood before the Archean delegation, her hands steady on the weathered grip of Earth's latest defense prototype. The weapon looked deceptively simple, a sleek fusion of classic ballistic design and cutting-edge plasma technology. High Commander Rexus, his crystalline carapace reflecting the chamber's harsh lighting, didn't bother hiding his disdain. Ambassador, he clicked his mandibles in what passed for amusement among his kind. Surely you don't expect us to evaluate this primitive instrument. Our children's toys possess more sophisticated technology. Thora maintained her diplomatic smile, though her knuckles whitened around the rifle's grip. 6 months of preparation, countless sleepless nights in the lab with Dr. Ibrahim, and humanity's best chance at recognition in the galactic community now balanced on this moment. High Commander, appearances can be deceiving, she replied, engaging the weapon's power core. The subtle hum drew dismissive chitters from the assembled Archean scientists. We find that combining traditional engineering with modern innovations often yields unexpected results. Unexpected. Rexus's secondary eyes blinked in sequence, an Archean expression of patronizing disbelief. Your species barely achieved faster-than-light travel a century ago. We have been mastering energy weapons since before your ancestors discovered fire. The observation chamber's targeting range materialized before them, a series of hardened alloy plates at increasing distances, materials that the Archeans had proudly proclaimed impervious to anything short of capital ship weaponry. Perhaps a demonstration would be more convincing than technical specifications, Thora suggested, bringing the rifle to her shoulder. Dr. Ibrahim's voice echoed in her memory. Let them underestimate us. It's humanity's greatest advantage. The first shot was deliberately weak, a simple plasma burst that barely scored the nearest target. The Archean delegation's chittering laughter filled the chamber. Rexus raised a crystalline appendage to halt the demonstration. As expected, your technology is centuries behind. His words cut off as Thora's second shot pierced the air. This time, she activated the weapon's full capabilities. The rifle combined magnetic acceleration with a plasma containment field of her own design. The result was devastating. A hypersonic projectile wrapped in a coherent plasma envelope that not only pierced the target but continued through 3 subsequent barriers before dissipating. Silence replaced the laughter. Rexus's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. Impossible. Our sensors detected no energy buildup capable of. That's rather the point, High Commander, Thora interrupted, allowing herself a small smile. Human innovation isn't about raw power. It's about efficiency, about finding connections others overlook. This weapon combines principles your scientists dismissed as obsolete with cutting-edge plasma containment. The result speaks for itself. The demonstration continued, each shot revealing more of the weapon's capabilities. Rapid-fire mode, variable yield settings, precision targeting that the Archeans had claimed impossible with plasma-based weapons. With each display, the delegation's demeanor shifted from dismissive to concerned. When the final target, a block of supposedly indestructible Archean battle plate, split cleanly in 2, Rexus raised all 4 hands in the Archean gesture for cessation. Enough. His voice carried an edge Thora hadn't heard before. Your point is made, Ambassador. Though I wonder if your species understands the implications of revealing such capabilities. Thora disengaged the rifle's power core, her expression neutral but her heart racing. She recognized a threat beneath his words. Humanity had just shifted from amusing primitives to potential rivals in the span of 5 minutes. We understand perfectly, High Commander. Humanity hopes to join the Galactic Concordat as equals, not subordinates. This demonstration was meant to establish that position clearly. As the Archean delegation filed out of the chamber, their crystalline forms rigid with barely contained anxiety, Thora's communicator vibrated. A message from Dr. Ibrahim, Well done. Phase 1 complete. Brace for Phase 2. Thora watched the doors seal behind the last Arxean, knowing that humanity's path forward had just become considerably more complex. They had demanded respect from the galaxy's dominant species, and now they would have to deal with the consequences of receiving it. The rifle in her hands, a symbol of humanity's ingenuity, suddenly felt heavier. The real challenge wasn't in proving their capabilities. It was in surviving the attention they'd just attracted. The Orbital Defense Command Center above Earth hummed with nervous energy. 3 weeks after the demonstration, and the ripples were becoming waves. Dr. Marcus Ibrahim studied the holographic display showing 5 Arxean warships that had coincidentally entered the solar system's outer bounds. "They're testing our response times," Captain Sarah Chen observed, her fingers dancing over the tactical console. "This is the 3rd patrol this week to drift just inside Neptune's orbit." The door hissed open, and Ambassador Thora Novak strode in, her usual composed demeanor showing signs of strain. "The Arxean Diplomatic Corps just issued another friendly inquiry about our weapons development programs. They're demanding inspections of our research facilities." Marcus snorted. "Friendly like a shark asking to check your bleeding wound." He brought up another display showing the modified rifle's schematics. "We knew this would happen. The question is, did we want it to?" "We needed to force their hand," Thora replied, though doubt crept into her voice. "The Arxeans were never going to accept humanity as equals if we played by their rules. But I admit, I didn't expect them to mobilize their fleet quite so quickly." The tactical display suddenly flared red. Captain Chen's hands flew across the controls. Multiple FTL signatures detected, large vessels dropping out of hyperspace near Mars. Her eyes widened. 12 Arxean dreadnoughts. Thora's breath caught. "That's not a patrol. That's an invasion fleet." The command center erupted into controlled chaos as alert signals blared. Marcus pulled up the defense grid status, watching as Earth's orbital platforms tracked the incoming vessels. "They're not moving to attack positions," he noted. "This is a show of force." "A very expensive show of force," Captain Chen added. "Those dreadnoughts represent about a quarter of their total fleet strength in this sector." A priority communication request flashed on the main screen. High Commander Rex's crystalline face materialized before them, his mandibles set in what the diplomatic corps had learned to recognize as a smug expression. "Ambassador Novak," he chittered, "I trust you can see our fleet from your position. We thought it prudent to conduct emergency readiness exercises in your system. Given the recent revelations about Earth's military capabilities, the Arxean hegemony feels obligated to ensure the safety of this sector." Thora stepped forward, her voice steady despite the threat looming over her homeworld. "High Commander, deploying a battle fleet without prior notification violates at least 6 provisions of the Galactic Concordat's peace treaties." "Does it?" Rex's secondary eyes pulsed with false concern. "How unfortunate that Earth isn't actually a signatory to those treaties. Your status is still pending, is it not?" Marcus watched the exchange with growing unease. The Arxeans were playing a dangerous game, but they weren't stupid. A show of force this dramatic meant they had something else planned. His suspicions were confirmed when a second communication channel opened. A new face appeared, one that belonged to neither human nor Arxean. The being's bioluminescent features identified it as a Meridian, one of the species under Arxean protection. "Earth Command," the Meridian spoke hurriedly, its lights pulsing with urgency. "I am Kilara Voss, representative of the Meridian Resistance. We have information you need to hear, and an offer you need to consider. The Arxeans aren't just here to intimidate you. They're eliminating potential allies before we can unite against them." The command center fell silent. Captain Chen's tactical display now showed the Arxean dreadnoughts taking up strategic positions throughout the solar system. They weren't preparing for an attack. They were establishing a blockade. "The Arxeans have done this before," Kilara continued, her bioluminescence dimming to urgent pulses. They isolate, intimidate, and then either subjugate or eliminate any species that shows too much potential. But they've never faced an alliance of their victims before. Thora exchanged glances with Marcus and Captain Chen. The weapon demonstration hadn't just revealed Earth's capabilities, it had attracted the attention of others who sought to break free from Arxian dominance. "Your weapon," Kilara said, "proves that different approaches to technology can overcome Arxian superiority. We have our own innovations, hidden from our oppressors. Together, we might have a chance." The implications were staggering. Earth had wanted recognition, but they'd gotten something far more significant, an opportunity to reshape the galaxy's power structure. The question was whether humanity was ready for the consequences of such an ambitious goal. "The Arxians will detect this transmission soon," Kilara warned. "We need your answer quickly. Will Earth stand alone, or will you join with those who have suffered under Arxian rule?" As alarms continued to sound and the massive Arxian fleet loomed in the holographic display, Thora realized that humanity's next decision would determine not just Earth's fate, but potentially that of every species that had ever chafed under Arxian dominance. The time for subtle demonstrations was over. Now they had to decide if they were ready for war. The secret meeting chamber deep within Lunar Base wasn't designed for non-human visitors. Kilara Voss's bioluminescent form cast shifting shadows across the walls as she spread a holographic star map showing Arxian patrol routes and supply lines. "Their dominance relies on strict control of hyperspace corridors," she explained, her light patterns pulsing with intensity. "The Arxians maintain their empire through superior mobility and resource denial." But her patterns shifted to a triumphant glow. They've never faced an enemy who could deny them these advantages. Captain Sarah Chen studied the map intently. "Our plasma rifle technology was just the beginning. Dr. Abraham, show them Project Nightshade." Marcus stepped forward, placing a small device on the conference table. It projected an image of what appeared to be a standard hyperspace beacon. "The Arxians use crystalline technology for their FTL systems," he explained. "We found a way to disrupt their navigational matrices using modified versions of our plasma containment fields." Kilara's bioluminescence flickered with excitement. "And Meridian Biotech can mask these devices from Arxian sensors. They'll never see them until it's too late." Thora watched the exchange with measured optimism. In the 3 days since the Arxians had established their blockade, Earth's military leadership had moved with surprising speed to forge an alliance with the Meridian resistance. Perhaps desperation made for quick friendships. "We'll need more than just tactical advantages," Thora interjected. "The Arxians control 3/4 of known space. Even with our combined technologies, we're outnumbered 20-1. "Numbers aren't everything," came a new voice. Admiral Helena Reyes, commander of Earth's defense fleet, entered the chamber. "The Arxians have grown complacent in their superiority. They've forgotten what it's like to fight an enemy who can actually hurt them." She activated another hologram showing Earth's orbital defense platforms. "We've already begun retrofitting our satellites with the new hybrid weapon systems. The Arxians think their blockade is containing us, but they're actually giving us perfect targets for our first strike." Kilara's color shifted to deep blue, the Meridian equivalent of a grim smile. "My people have similar surprises prepared. We've spent decades infiltrating their supply chains. When the time comes, half their forward bases will find their power cores suddenly unreliable." Marcus brought up detailed schematics of the modified plasma rifle technology. "We've scaled up the design for capital ships. The Arxians still haven't figured out how we combined ballistic and plasma systems. Their shields are optimized for energy weapons, not hybrid attacks." "That's because they believe in evolution, not revolution," Thora observed. "Each of their technological advances builds on previous ones. They never start fresh, never question their fundamental assumptions. It's their greatest weakness." Admiral Reyes nodded. "And we're going to exploit that weakness." Captain Chen, brief them on Operation Thunderbolt." Sarah stepped up to the holographic display. A coordinated strike across 12 systems, she began. While the Arxians are focused on maintaining their blockade here, we'll hit their primary shipyards in the Denv sector. Meanwhile, Meridian operatives will trigger cascading failures in the hyperspace beacon network. The timing must be perfect, Kilara stressed, her lights pulsing rapidly. Once we begin, the Arxians will respond with everything they have. We'll need to do enough damage in the first strike to even the odds for what follows. We're not just planning a battle, Admiral Reyes added. We're starting a revolution. Every species that's ever suffered under Arxian rule will be watching. If we succeed, they'll join us. If we fail... She didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone in the chamber knew the stakes. Failure meant the end of human independence and any hope of freedom for the Meridians. Thora studied the assembled faces, human and Meridian alike. A week ago, these species hadn't even known each other existed. Now they were planning a war that would reshape the galaxy. There's one more thing, Marcus said quietly. We've detected unusual energy signatures from several supposedly primitive worlds in Arxian space. I don't think we're the only ones who've been hiding our true capabilities. Admiral Reyes smiled. Then let's give them a reason to stop hiding. Captain Chen, begin Operation Thunderbolt deployment. Ambassador Novak, prepare a message to be broadcast across all frequencies once we begin. Let every species under Arxian control know that the time for submission is over. As the meeting concluded, Thora watched Kilara's bioluminescence synchronize with the lighting in the chamber, a sign of deep emotional connection in Meridian culture. Perhaps this alliance wasn't just about necessity after all. Perhaps they were witnessing the birth of something that would outlast the coming conflict. The war for freedom was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The bridge of the EDF, defiant, hummed with tension as Captain Sarah Chen watched the countdown timer. In 20 seconds, Operation Thunderbolt would begin. The Arxian dreadnoughts maintaining Earth's blockade still hadn't detected the modified hyperspace disruptors hidden among the debris of destroyed satellites. All ships report ready, her tactical officer announced. Meridian strike teams are in position across all target systems. Sarah's fingers tightened on her command chair. Send the recognition signal to Ambassador Novak. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity. Across 12 systems, human and Meridian forces waited in perfect synchronization. The element of surprise was their greatest weapon, that, and the arrogance of their common enemy. On the primary display, Thora Novak's face appeared. Her broadcast would reach every corner of Arxian space. To all species living under Arxian dominion, she began, her voice steady and clear. Today, we offer you a choice. A choice the Arxians never gave you. A choice to be free. The timer hit 0. Simultaneously, across Earth's solar system, dozens of hyperspace disruptors activated. The crystalline cores of the Arxian dreadnoughts, suddenly cut off from their navigational network, blazed with confusion. Their ships, so mighty and threatening moments before, now drifted in space like beached whales. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta, Sarah commanded. The Defiant's hybrid weapons powered up, combining human plasma technology with Meridian targeting systems. Show them what real innovation looks like. The space around Earth erupted in fire. Human vessels, smaller but far more maneuverable than their Arxian counterparts, struck from multiple vectors. The hybrid weapons pierced Arxian shields as if they weren't there, their combined ballistic plasma payloads exploiting weaknesses the Arxians had never thought to defend against. High Commander Rexis is requesting communication, her comm officer reported, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. Denied, Sarah replied coldly. Let him watch. Dr. Ibrahim's voice came through on a secure channel from Lunar Base. The Denuk shipyards are reporting massive explosions. Meridian saboteurs hit their primary power cores exactly on schedule. Kilara's people came through. Reports flooded in from across known space. Arxian ships, cut off from their hyperspace network, found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Centuries of relying on technological superiority had left them unprepared for warfare without their advantages. But the Arxians hadn't built their empire by being weak. Even as their ships burned and their shipyards exploded, they began to adapt. New frequencies, backup systems, emergency protocols that hadn't been used in generations. Captain, her tactical officer called out, multiple Arxian battle groups are switching to secondary navigation systems. They're starting to coordinate. Sarah nodded grimly. They'd known this would happen. Begin Phase 2. Signal the Meridian Fleet. From hidden bases across Arxian space, ships of distinctly alien design emerged. The Meridians had been building in secret for decades, preparing for this moment. Their vessels, organic in appearance and powered by technology the Arxians had dismissed as primitive, joined the human assault forces. Message from Admiral Reyes, the comm officer announced. The Arcturus Gambit is green-lit. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Plot course for the Arcturus staging area. It's time to show the Arxians that humanity doesn't just copy technology, we improve it. The Defiant's engines flared as it led its battle group toward the designated coordinates. Behind them, Earth's orbital defense platforms continued to hammer the stranded Arxian dreadnoughts. The blockade that was meant to contain humanity had become a trap for its creators. In the Deneb sector, Kilara Voss led her own fleet in a decisive strike against the largest Arxian shipyard. Her ships, bioengineered to be nearly invisible to Arxian sensors, tore through the surprised defenders. Multiple new signals detected, Sarah's science officer reported excitedly. Ships dropping out of hyperspace, they're not Arxian or Meridian. On the tactical display, new contacts appeared. Ships of various designs, representing species that had long hidden their true capabilities from the Arxian overlords. The revolution was spreading faster than anyone had dared to hope. Captain, her tactical officer called out, voice urgent. Large Arxian fleet detected moving toward Earth. At least 30 dreadnoughts. They're using some kind of alternative FTR system we haven't seen before. Sarah's expression hardened. The real battle was about to begin. The initial strike had bloodied the Arxians, but an empire doesn't fall in a day. Signal all ships. Form up on the Defiant. We're about to show them that humanity doesn't just start fights, we finish them. As her fleet moved to intercept the Arxian counterattack, Sarah thought about how far they'd come. From a demonstration of a single rifle to a full-scale galactic war in less than a month. But that's how humanity had always operated. Push us too far, and we push back harder. The next few hours would determine whether their gamble paid off, or if they'd only succeeded in making their chains heavier. But looking at her crew's determined faces, at the combined fleet of former victims turned warriors, Sarah knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would remember this day, one way or another. The void between Mars and Jupiter became a graveyard of crystalline shards and burning metal. Captain Sarah Chen watched as another Arxian dreadnought split apart under concentrated fire from the combined fleet. But for every enemy ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Shields at 40%, her tactical officer reported. The Arxians have adapted their weapons to partially penetrate our hybrid defenses. On the main viewer, the massive Arxian counterattack fleet pressed forward. High Commander Rexus had abandoned subtlety for brute force, throwing everything he had at the Human Meridian Alliance. The space around the Defiant blazed with energy weapons and plasma-wrapped projectiles. Kilara's task force is reporting heavy casualties. Dr. Ibrahim's voice came through, strained but determined. The Arxians are specifically targeting Meridian bioships. They know how dangerous they are. Sarah's hands flew across her tactical console. Redirect squadrons 3 and 4 to support the Meridian flank. We need tow. The ship rocked violently. Direct hit to engineering. Someone shouted. New Arxian weapons signature detected. Through the chaos of battle, Sarah spotted something that made her blood run cold. The Arxian flagship had deployed what looked like crystalline satellites. dozens of them, forming a complex geometric pattern in space. All ships fall back. Admiral Reyes's voice cut through all channels. They're deploying a resonance cascade weapon. If those crystals align. Her warning came too late. The crystalline array pulsed with blinding energy. Every human and Meridian ship in its range suddenly lost power, their hybrid systems overloaded by the precise frequency of the attack. The Defiant drifted, its bridges lit only by emergency power and the distant explosions of dying ships. Sarah watched helplessly as the Arxian fleet moved in for the kill. But then something unexpected happened. From the direction of the asteroid belt, new signals appeared. Ships of ancient design, but powered by technology that made Sarah's sensors scream in protest. Leading them was a vessel that dwarfed even the Arxian dreadnoughts. "This is Rozak of the Forgotten," a deep voice resonated through all communication channels. "We have watched from the shadows long enough. The Arxians thought they had eliminated us centuries ago. They were wrong." The newly arrived fleet opened fire with weapons that seemed to bend reality itself. The Arxian crystalline array shattered, its carefully aligned formation disrupted by forces it wasn't designed to resist. "Captain," Dr. Ibrahim's excited voice cut in, "the Forgotten. They're using technology based on principles we theorized but could never implement. They've mastered quantum field manipulation." Sarah didn't waste the opportunity. "All ships, restore power from auxiliary systems. Concentrate fire on the Arxian flagship. Show them what happens when the primitives unite." The battle shifted dramatically. The Forgotten's ancient but devastating weapons carved through Arxian defenses like they were made of paper. Human hybrid weapons struck from multiple vectors, while Meridian bioships launched swarms of energy-draining organisms that attached themselves to Arxian vessels. High Commander Rexus's flagship, once proudly leading the attack, now found itself surrounded by the combined forces of 3 species his kind had dismissed as inferior. His final transmission carried none of his former arrogance. "You cannot comprehend what you're destroying," he chittered frantically. "The order we maintained, the stability." "The oppression," Sarah cut him off. "The subjugation of any species you deemed lesser. That ends today." The Arxian flagship's crystalline structure began to crack under sustained fire from all sides. As it broke apart, Sarah saw other Arxian vessels beginning to retreat. The mighty empire that had dominated the galaxy through technological superiority had finally met its match, not in a single powerful enemy, but in the combined innovation of those it had oppressed. "All ships, hold fire," Admiral Reyes commanded. "Let them retreat. They need to carry word back to their leaders." As the remnants of the Arxian fleet fled, the bridge of the Defiant erupted in cheers. But Sarah noticed Dr. Ibrahim studying the Forgotten ships with intense concentration. "Their technology," he murmured. "It's not just advanced, it's different. They approach the fundamental laws of physics from an entirely different direction than either humans or Arxians." Rizak's ship moved alongside the Defiant, its ancient hull marked with symbols no living being had seen in centuries. "We have much to discuss," the Forgotten leader transmitted. "About the past and about the future we must build together." Sarah looked out at the battlefield, where human, Meridian, and Forgotten ships now flew together in formation. 3 different approaches to technology, 3 different ways of understanding the universe, all proving that progress didn't follow a single path. The Arxian Empire had fallen not because they were weak, but because they had failed to understand a fundamental truth. True strength lies not in superiority, but in diversity. The combined innovation of multiple species, each approaching problems from their unique perspective, had accomplished what none could have done alone. As repair crews worked to restore the Defiant to full power, Sarah knew that the real challenge was just beginning. They had won their freedom. Now they had to prove they deserved it. The galaxy was about to enter a new age, and humanity would help shape it, not as conquerors, but as equals in a coalition of free species. 6 months after the Battle of Jupiter, The newly constructed Unity station orbited Earth like a shining beacon. Its design reflected the contributions of all three allied species: human engineering, Meridian bioarchitecture, and forgotten quantum mechanics working in perfect harmony. Ambassador Thora Novak stood in the Grand Assembly Chamber, watching representatives from dozens of formerly subjugated species file in for the first meeting of the Galactic Coalition. The simple plasma rifle that had started it all now held a place of honor in the chamber's entrance, a reminder of how small actions could cascade into revolutionary change. Still hard to believe it all started with a demonstration gone wrong, Dr. Ibrahim said, joining her at the observation window. Or perhaps gone right, depending on your perspective. Kilara Voss's bioluminescent form pulsed with amusement as she approached. The Arxin's latest diplomatic message arrived. They're finally requesting formal peace negotiations. Of course they are, Captain Chen added, her uniform now bearing the insignia of the Coalition Defense Force. Their last 3 attempts to reclaim lost territory ended in embarrassing defeats. Turns out their crystal ships don't fare well against forgotten quantum disruptors combined with Meridian bioweapons and human hybrid technology. Razak of the Forgotten, his ancient but elegant robes flowing around his towering form, joined their group. The true victory is not in defeating the Arxins, but in what we build from the ashes of their empire. Already, the exchange of knowledge between our peoples has led to breakthroughs none of us could have achieved alone. He was right. The observation window offered a view of ships from various species docked at Unity Station. Each vessel represented a different approach to science and technology. The Meridian's organic ships pulsed with life beside the angular efficiency of human designs, while forgotten vessels seemed to flicker between dimensions. The first graduating class of the Coalition Science Academy is ready, Dr. Ibrahim reported proudly. Students from 23 species, each bringing their own unique perspective to the universal constants we all share. Thora smiled as she watched a group of young aliens, including several Arxian refugees who had chosen to defect, studying a holographic display of hybrid drive technology. This is what the Arxians never understood. Progress doesn't follow a single path. The universe is too vast, too complex for any one approach to be supreme. The station's quantum communications array hummed to life, projecting images from across Coalition space. New colonies being established, joint research projects pushing the boundaries of known science, trade routes opening between formerly isolated species, and perhaps most importantly, cultural exchanges that broke down centuries of enforced isolation. The latest survey data is remarkable, Captain Chen noted, pulling up a tactical display. Former Arxian subject worlds are advancing at an unprecedented rate now that they're free to pursue their own paths of development. Turns out oppression isn't good for innovation. Kilara's colors shifted to deep green, a sign of contentment. My people have already adapted some of humanity's hybrid technology principles to our bioengineering. The results are fascinating. As are the applications of Meridian organic computing to our quantum systems, Razak added. The potential for advancement when different perspectives combine freely is literally infinite. The assembly chamber had filled nearly to capacity. Species that had once hidden their achievements from Arxian overlords now proudly displayed their technological and cultural contributions. The air was charged with possibility. Admiral Reyes approached their group, her expression serious but satisfied. The Coalition Defense Force is fully operational. Every member species contributes what they do best: human tactical innovation, Meridian stealth technology, forgotten quantum weapons, and dozens of other specialized capabilities. Not just a military force, Thora added, but a guarantee that no species will ever again be forced to subjugate their development to another's vision of progress. As the first session of the Galactic Coalition began, Thora reflected on how far they'd come. The plasma rifle demonstration had been intended to prove humanity's worth to the galaxy. Instead, it had helped prove something far more important. That true advancement comes not from domination, but from cooperation. Dr. Ibrahim gestured toward a group of scientists excitedly discussing a new hybrid of human plasma technology and forgotten quantum principles. You know what the best part is? We're just getting started. Every day brings new combinations, new innovations, new ways of thinking about the universe. The stars visible through Unity Station's windows seemed brighter somehow, as if reflecting the promise of this new era. Humanity had helped break the chains of empire, but their greatest contribution wasn't military might or technological innovation. It was the simple truth that had sparked the revolution. Progress has many paths, and all of them are worthy of exploration. As the Coalition Assembly raised their voices in unanimous approval of the new charter, Thora knew that the galaxy's future was secure, not because any one species dominated, but because all of them were finally free to reach for the stars in their own unique ways. The age of empire was over. The age of unity had begun.